courts take this very seriously. The one violation that occurred up in Lake County turned out Western Reserve Land Conservancy judge ruled in favor of, and the person that tried to break the conservation easement did so willingly, and as a result had to pay all the legal expenses, which I believe was somewhere between $68,000 and $90,000. So we do take the security of these easements very seriously. So once again, the primary focus of our mission is about the land. We want to make sure that there's green space and agriculture for future generations to enjoy. This is a piece of property that we help Lake Metro Parks protect. This is the Lake Erie Bluffs, which we had 3 different names for it. That's why it doesn't come right to my head. But once again, this is up in Perry. Just if you've not been there, it's well worth the short drive. It's truly an amazing piece of property, especially right now. If you're into birds, once again, all the migrating birds, the neotropicals, fly into this area and they rest up here before flying across the lake to further their migration into Canada. Just a wonderful area for viewing. We did a bird walk there last spring, and I believe we had, I think, 18 eagles at one time soaring above us. Just an incredible piece of property. And when you work your way down to the beach, the coast there, you really can only see a couple of signs of development. One is here, far to the west, but other than that, it looks like an undisturbed coastline. You would have a hard time not realizing, thinking that you were on the coast of Oregon. It is truly spectacular. And then, our primary focus is about the people. It's helping individuals realize their dreams. So many people, if you think about what's important to them and their families, it's family, faith, and land. And when you can help them to preserve family, it really does good to you. You help to see how important making sure that their children and grandchildren have those areas to recreate and to enjoy in the future. So with that, I would be happy to address any questions. Yes?
I don't know what the protocol is here in terms of.
No, I just asked the board, nobody on the board has any questions, so go ahead.
Well, in terms of mentioning names and stuff, I know sometimes in meetings you want people's names. Why don't you click? Mikey. Hi. One quick question for you.
Yes.
Because there is a distinct difference between protection and control. If the citizens have paid tax dollars for the park board to purchase property, the park board protects that property. Nobody can do anything on that property unless the park board approves it, authorizes it, whatever. 100 years from today, the nature of our country will change, and at some point in time, somebody may say, in 100 years, we want something different for that property. If there is a in perpetuity contract controlling the property, which we had to pay more tax dollars to do, why would we do that?
Because the reason people vote for levies for Geauga Park District has largely been to protect land. That is their desire, and their expectation is that's going to be protected in the future. If we work to help save taxpayer money with the park district, say for example Heritage Acres, where we were able to raise 100% of the funds, then you have to give up something. By getting a free piece of property, you're placing a permanent restriction on it.
But that didn't answer the question, why, if the park board owns property, they need you to protect it. They protect it. And 100 years from today, our generation says, we value this property, we want to protect it. And if-
Park District owns Big Creek Park.
Right.
They can do whatever they want with it. There's some state restrictions because part of the land was subsidized by the state. However, the Land Conservancy doesn't have an easement on this property. We're not going to dictate what's done on the majority of parkland.
Yeah, but you do have contracts on park property. You've already said that.
Yes, on those properties,
And why would we put a contract? Why, and I'm saying this to the park board, why would we ever put a conservation easement on a property? Because the values in the population changes over time. And today we value whatever we value. What right do we have to steal the decisions away from future generations for what's right in their day and in their time? We're dictating to future generations what's right in their day and their time. Why would we do that?
once again, for savings, the piece of property is desired, if you want to provide public open space at a fraction of the cost. That's one of the options that we provide, and as a result, a restriction comes with that. And that's something that the board has to weigh. Mike?
Hi, Keith, Mike, Sullivan, Chester. Keith, one of the problems that bothers me is you talk about Clean Ohio, that's bond money, that's state money that the taxpayers pay. WRSP grants and 319 grants are also funded by state taxes.
WRSP is not a grant program.
Well, it's money owed back to EPA from the loan they made for the Northeast Regional Sewer District.
Right, but it's not a grant program.
Well, it's profit, because we loan the money, the taxpayers loan the money for that, so it should be the return on investment to the taxpayers.
It's basically the savings that a municipality or a sewer district, for taking out a loan, they get a reduction in their interest rate. The money from that reduction is placed towards water quality protection projects. It's not a
Well, I think it's kind of disingenuous that said you raise these funds, because everybody in this room that pays taxes, it's our money to start off with.
which was voted in by the same individuals to put it in place. Clean Ohio was voted on twice by voters.
Well, it's taxpayer funded, it's bond money, and we
By
have to pay
their
back,
vote.
we have to pay back the taxpayers at an interest rate. So that was my comment about the presentation. I don't know, I just don't understand.
Once again, that's money that's available. My thought is, if that money is available, District 7 covers Lake County, Ashtabula County, Geauga County, and Portage County. That money is being spent in those 4 counties. I want to see it come to Geauga County. I want to see it come to where I live. That's my personal bias as a township trustee in Hamden and as a resident. And also for working with Western Reserve Land Conservancy.
Yeah, but at what price for future generations, that's the question.
At the price of clean water, preserved land, protection of our aquifers, I would say it's a price that's well worth it.
I think that's it.
Keith, can you address us on what parcels there might be currently in Geauga that might be of interest to the fire district?
We do have 3 pieces of property that I would certainly be willing to discuss with the park board. However, I feel that it's appropriate in executive session in that with any land deal, it's, it's one of those reasons, it's a reason why there's executive sessions allowed for park districts and public bodies, in that oftentimes deals can go south if too much information is shared.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
The other items are pretty limited, Keith, so it should not take long. Yeah, very short. So let's move on. There are 2 other items of business on the agenda. First is Headwater Park improvement. I'll let Matt Ford come forward and fill in any details that I overlook. But if you recall, we bid some improvements at Headwaters Park. The bids came in over the estimate probable cost. And so Matt and his team put it back out to bid. And we have some options here for you that you saw in your board packet. for moving forward with a contract for improvements at Headwaters Park. Matt and I both concur with option number 3. The other thing you can consider as well, if you'd like to see a little more savings and some contingency available to Matt, typically that's right around a 10% contingency for change orders, change directives, things of that nature. As you know, there's been a lot of discussion about these playgrounds and what they cost. The costs are exorbitant, so that's something else you, as a board, could remove from the project just because it is a separate contract. So Matt and I both concur on option 3, and I'll let Matt add anything to that.
So, yeah, John kind of covered, basically we had the 3 different options. Option 3 really gives us kind of the original intent. We're able to build the shelter. You can see from the 2 graphics I gave you that the north elevation shows the original covered porch area that would come off the front of the shelter, which is actually oriented towards Headwaters. The lower elevation shows the base bid without that porch. Based on the intent and sort of the site and sort of the beauty of that area, I think having the porch makes sense. That option would be at least eliminating one piece of equipment from the playground, which then would allow us to do that add alternate of the porch, which to me, I think is kind of a good direction to go. The other thing mentioned would be clearing on the site would be done by operations crew. It's really a matter of probably 6 or 7 trees to clear for the playground area and for where the restroom would go. And then the other item we would be self-performing would be some aggregate trails, which are basically 6-foot wide aggregate trails kind of to the shelter, which our operations crew are currently working on a number of trail projects, so it's well within kind of their skill set.
I just had a question to ask you in regards to the opportunity John put forth as far as, I think everyone's clear, in case I'm wrong, is that we understand that this project with the roof and the north side elevation is to really, really enhance the canoe kayak experience at Headwaters. And so my question is, to me, it's obvious to remove part of the playground. The question is whether or not we want to remove all the playground, and I think that would be based on the recommendation of you and John to see how this goes forward, or do you think this is, you all know better than we do, a populated area where in fact the playground is going to be used as much as Orchard Hills is used?
The playground originally, the thought being that with camping and with some of the other amenities there, that having a playground would make sense for this location. That again was under previous board members. I know at least one member of this board has brought up kind of thoughts on playgrounds. If we did not do the playground, it's similar to what we discussed at Florida Meadows. It's something that can always be added back in if we feel there is a huge need in the future. Again, looking at the setting and the site itself is pretty natural. So by eliminating the playground, it kind of lends itself to maybe sort of give a nice setting for the lodge, which again, the intent was to kind of take advantage of the location of the existing boathouse right along the lake there. So from a planning standpoint, if we don't do it now, it's something that could easily be added in. It is a separate contract, as John said, it was through state bid, so it'd be a matter of, going back to the supplier at any time and saying, we want to add this in later.
And that would free up our funding so we'd stay within budget?
Well, by reallocating and eliminating the turtle, that gives us enough money to stay in budget. If you eliminate the other piece, the actual ship, that would free up another $82,000 that, as John stated, usually we like to carry about a 10% contingency in construction. Right now, we have about a 2% contingency on this project with reallocating the money from eliminating one piece. So if we did eliminate the other piece, it would give us the ability to give more of a normal contingency going into construction.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I would like to move that we remove the complete playground,
That's not surprising.
and, we can always bid it later. But, you know, I'm a little bit conservative, and to spend $100,000 on playground, on playground.
And
That
we're
makes
down to
sense.
80,000.
Well, yeah, but you take a turtle out there for 18,000, a turtle?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeff, any comments? So,
I would need at this time, we would need a motion, and Dave Andre, Jeff, did review the original bid form, and option three, any of the options would be within the board's right. Option three, I would need a motion from the board to move forward with the award of the contract.
okay, so all you need from us now is a motion to go ahead and award the bid to,
For the amount of $346,930, which would include the reallocation of $18,000 from the playground.
so,
And in connection with our prior board meeting where we approved the playground, and we would be reversing ourselves on that, right?
correct,
That would be a separate motion.
that would be a
I would
separate.
recommend making a separate motion.
Yeah, so we'd like, the first motion is strictly for the building, no playground included. So that would be to approve Hummel construction contract for the construction of the shelter, for the amount of $346,930, correct?
And option three includes the eliminating the one piece of the turtle, and that's the option you're recommending.
That would be the recommendation from planning.
That's correct. The motion, we have a second. I'll go ahead and call the roll. Mrs. Shumway?
Do we have a second on that motion? I did not hear a second.
No, we didn't.
Okay, okay. So
I'm
are
sorry.
you clear with the motion?
No, I'm not clear with the motion. Are we just, is the motion to?
The motion was to award Hummel construction contract for the construction of the shelter. So we're speaking shelter only in the amount of $346,930.
And then to reduce the playground scope by eliminating.
Well, we're not
one.
talking the playground at all.
But that's what's shown in option three.
I was gonna say,
Well, we're
yeah,
not-
option three, because we would have to self-perform.
Okay, so are you asking then for the motion, the option three, that we move forward?
That's
with?
what I'm under, that's what I thought that you were moving, and that Bill seconded, is that we were accepting option three as it's articulated in the recommendation from Matt.
Okay. I want to
Is
be
that
clear.
correct?
Option three includes the playground.
Now, we'll take care of the playground after this is over.
It includes the playground to the extent of eliminating one piece.
Correct. So you wouldn't make the motion to go forward with the
But
playground and
let's
then
back up,
rescind it.
let's back up the tape.
We have to legally go.
Don't we want to say that you're making a motion to accept the staff's recommendation for option three to award Hummel Construction for the construction of the shelter and add alternate one, the covered porch of the north elevation for a total cost of $346,930. And that includes, with it, that the staff will perform clearing, grading, and trail work, that we're reducing the playground scope by eliminating one piece, saving $18,000, and then we would reallocate $18,000 from the playground budget for the construction of the shelter. Is that the motion? Are you content with that motion?
I'm not satisfied with that, because I think we should eliminate the playground equipment completely from our bid.
Yeah, but if I'm understanding John correctly, he's saying that with regard to the balance of the playground equipment, he wants us to do that in a separate motion.
Okay.
So is that, can you accept the way that the staff has articulated it on this sheet? Whose motion is it?
It's Bill.
Bill's motion, and you seconded it.
I will second it. That we accept option number three.
I'll call the
As
roll.
articulated in the
Correct.
report there.
I'll call the roll. Mrs. Shumway?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Orndorff?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Thank you.
Right now, you have a second motion.
Second motion is to eliminate completely from the bid all the playground, part of our bid, which was a amount of
Yeah, it's 80,000.
80, it will be 82,000.
So we're rescinding our prior motion, and action made April, May, March, I'm sorry, I can't remember the date that we did that, but you know what date that was.
I think the motion might be to not accept the contract that was awarded at the.
To rescind the board's prior motion.
Correct.
Is that's Bill's motion?
For the playground, correct.
I'll second.
Call the vote, Mrs. Shumway,
Yes.
Mr. Wondorf,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Moving on. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, folks. There's an agenda item for controlled hunting. Mr. Warndorf was able to come in and meet with us on Monday, us meeting myself and our park biologist, Paul Pura. We were able to provide him information on the history of our wildlife management controlled hunting program. And so I'd like to open the floor to any comments or any questions regarding the controlled hunting program.
You know, John, what I would like more than anything is for Paul, if you would be so kind to come and talk to us about the nature of the surveys that can be done, what surveys have been done in the past, and what surveys you might recommend or have us consider for the future, please.
And the other thing is, I just want to make it really clear that hunting was somewhat thrown in with trapping. The issues that were raised at previous board meetings were trapping issues, not necessarily hunting issues. Hunting issues have been issues with certain residents since its inception.
Well, there's an awful lot that we did talk about. I think we spent about an hour and a half talking about hunting, trapping issues over the years. I think we first started out with general consensus, I think, amongst everyone. Anyone that's conservation minded and knows about the issues. I don't think we're in disagreement about high deer numbers and deer populations that are high. And things that need to be done as far as maintaining biodiversity in that regard. So we talked a little bit about that. I talked about my involvement with a group called LEAP in Northeast Ohio, Lake Erie Allegheny Partnership. And we have helped and assisted as kind of the experts in the region, a number of other municipalities. I'm sure you've read some of the newspapers and things like that that are now starting deer management and culling and things like that in their areas. So we discussed a little bit of that. For the Park District, we started, John started this program back in 2004-05 discussions, and then we went from there and actually started running a hunting program in 2006. Again, in regards and with the mind of deer management and managing for biodiversity and the protection of plants and animals in the Park District. So we went through that. We discussed kind of options on what has been done in the past as far as deer numbers, getting population estimates.
Could you briefly discuss what options that have been used or that we could use going forward?
Sure, exactly, that's what I was going to touch on. So we've used in the past, we've used infrared aerial surveys from planes. And most of the other park districts in this region do the same thing. We haven't done one for quite some time, but basically they fly in the wintertime and the heat signatures of these animals, they pick those up on infrared cameras from the planes, and then we come up with numbers of deer per square mile. And any estimates, any kind of sampling you do in biology has biases. And certainly this technique has some bias. We also discussed doing surveys through the use of helicopters. It's been offered to the Park District through an agency to possibly do that. So there's an option of using helicopters in the wintertime to get deer numbers. There are other estimates as well, not so much specific numbers on the number of deer, but more or less the intensity or damage that deer inflict upon the habitat. So you can do, my department, Natural Resource Management, the biologists, we could go out and do browse surveys, kind of the intensity how badly are deer impacting the vegetation in Big Creek Park versus Observatory Park or down Swine Creek Park, something like that. So we could go out and do those kind of surveys. So those options were discussed with Mr. Warner.
And in the materials that you shared with me, for which I'm grateful, there was a reference to BioBlitz, and BioBlitz would refer to that last survey method that you described, where you would look at vegetation, correct? Is that what that means?
No, to me anyway, BioBlitz for the Park District is actually, it's like a one-day program where we bring out experts in various fields of birds or plants or fish or whatever, and we all kind of collectively blitz a piece of property and come up with numbers of species, upwards of 800 to 900 species will document on a piece of property in 24 hours.
So the vegetation survey and the aerial surveys, whether they're done by plane or helicopter, Paul, can you tell us what time of year those are done?
Yeah, typically it's always done in winter months when snow is on the ground, January, February.
That's for the airplane and helicopter one?
Correct.
And what about the vegetation survey?
Vegetation, the browse intensity kind of studies are actually done right after the snow comes off, so March would be the time to do those.
So are we already too late in trying to evaluate our white-tailed deer population to do anything prior to this year's hunting season?
I would say yes, in my opinion, right now, we're kind of too late for the browse surveys. The other thing I did want to mention too, and we discussed this, was we have deer exclosures, basically 30 by 30 fenced in areas. And it's been interesting to look at visually in certain parks. They show some pretty, they can show dramatic changes. Maybe not even in Geauga Park District, other park districts have shown me photos, and it's pretty striking, the impacts inside versus outside of this fenced-in area. But it's, at best, I will say, looking at our data over the years, and I've produced one short report on it, it's kind of tricky to interpret some of that data. There are other factors involved in vegetation, inside and outside, and then comparing between parks is often difficult because they're not placed in exactly the same kind of habitats and things like that. So,
Do you have any preliminary thoughts that you can share with us today about updating our baseline data on population densities?
So yeah, I guess what I brought from that meeting, John and Mr. Warbrook, was basically I would come up with in the next few weeks, we could come up with some options of what we would recommend going forward. I don't see getting some data, again, baseline data, updated data as a bad thing. For the Park District, I'm looking into, we talked about maybe getting some money, some budget numbers as far as those.
I do have a question, Paul.
Sure.
I know you were offered infrared through the Chagrin Falls National Guard unit to come in and help you do some counts in some of the parks. Have you taken advantage of any of that free infrared versus us paying $12,000?
No, I have not. I haven't contacted them. We can certainly talk. I don't know kind of what capabilities they have, really.
Well, they're the same capabilities they use for finding the guys in Afghanistan. I think they could find deer in our park.
Okay. Well, we certainly can explore that option.
Okay.
Is there anything that you think that we can do as a board to update our baseline data prior to the things that we have in place, the Park District